Hello, welcome to Thank You School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I am your host, JP John Paz. With me today, of course, the star of the show, the former WWE and eight-time Smoky Mountain Wrestling World Tag Team Champion. He is, of course, one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of the business, the Doctor of Desire himself, Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, how you doing today, sir?
John, I'm doing great, but I have to tell you, Smoky Mountain did not ever at any time have a World Tag Team Championship. It was a
All right.
Smoky Mountain Tag Team Championship. I know
Yeah,
that
true,
world kind of
true.
gets thrown around there a lot,
I
but
always do that by accident because I'm thinking WWE World Tag Team
of
Champion, like
course,
Howard Finkel style. Yeah,
yeah, well,
yeah,
that's true. But Smoky Mountain didn't have the World Championship ever in their
yes,
grips. Yeah.
yes, true.
Mhm.
Ibsen, yes. What's up, Ibsen?
Ibsen, yes,
Yes,
very nice. Yeah, it's always good for the early the guys who get in here early. So,
yes,
yep, they
yes.
get first dibs. Man, not a lot to talk about this week, I guess.
Oh no! Oh no! You don't think
Yeah.
so?
Holy smoke.
Have you seen the CM Punk Young Bucks melee altercation fight brawl? There was many nicknames.
Well, again, I think it goes back to how much of a good thing can you eat, and how long can you eat it, and how long does it taste just as good as the very first bite? It never does. So eventually, it's going to get to be routine or stale or commonplace. And AEW, when they started out, they had a niche audience. They still have a niche audience, and you have people who enjoy that style and enjoy the product, and as well they should. To each his own. But at the same time, I think you're starting to see when there's no one really in charge. Um, this is what happens, and uh, you would almost. I can remember back years and years ago when somebody would have a dispute or a problem with somebody else. And I know you've heard this story before with Butch Reed and the Barbarian in Louisiana and Bill Watts. You know, this was before the internet, before cell phones and cameras and stuff like that. But Bill Watts got Barbarian and Butch Reed in a room by themselves and said, "You guys work it out because you're hurting business." They didn't want to work together in the ring, so he told them work it out, and they both came out with black eyes, and there was never a problem since then. And nobody made a big deal out of it. That was just the way it was handled. Maybe it's barbaric compared to what's going on today, but at the same time, I believe that that worked. That system worked, and you're trying to please everybody and allowing just anybody to walk into professional wrestling these days. And quite honestly, and I mean no, I don't know how it sounds, and I don't really care at this point. But not everybody should be in this. Not everybody should even try to be a professional wrestler. If you, especially if you're going to be on a national uh, station or national recognition, whatever it is, because there's got to be somebody to lay the law down. You're going to have egos. It's entertainment. It's showbiz. You're going to have egos no matter where you go. So you need to have somebody have them in check or know how to deal with them when they explode, I guess. And poor Tony Khan, I'd never really heard him talk, and I'd never really seen him do anything. But I watched the press conference,
Hmm.
and he kind of cringed a few times.
Yeah,
So I mean, that can't be easy on him either. But you have to have somebody. The buck stops there. And if not, you're going to have volatile situations like this, especially when you have people who believe they're right on both sides. Doesn't matter who's right is going to be the guy who's paying you or knows what to do to draw money and draw business. Somebody I don't know the comments I read or whatever it was, where they were talking about it's personal issues that always sold uh, tickets and things like this and got people interested. Well, this has been more interesting than what's been going on the show because people have a sense that it's authentic, that it's real, it's genuine,
yep.
and you got to believe it is because that's Punk. And I'm sure the Young Bucks don't take too kindly to Punk saying what he said, doing what he did. But that's why, people used to get their feelings hurt all the time. I got my feelings hurt every day when I was wrestling. So, my God, that's what this is. Get over it, guys, or do business or whatever it may be. But to come out and say it publicly. Not only, I don't think Punk was the guy who fired the first shot. I thought it was Page, maybe Hangman
Yes.
Page when he got in Punk's face. I'm just what I've been keeping up with. So when you say stuff like that, you can't expect somebody to just sit on it like a CM Punk who's passionate and confident in who he is. So I'm not quite sure what they were expecting. If they thought he was just going to not be active in what's happening in what he's doing there, and well, they were sadly mistaken. So it's a crazy time. I remember the days when guys would settle it between themselves, and that was all you had to really do. This way, it makes everybody look like idiots to me. It really does. Right, wrong, indifferent, but the whole company doesn't look good. It may give them some interest, and they may come out stronger. I don't know, but it doesn't look good when you have you're suspending guys for fighting and throwing who threw the first punch and who did what and who said what. Come on. I mean, that's what I feel about it. It's like, come on, let's settle it the way you need to settle it, or fire somebody and move on, or get real with it and say, listen, guys, what do we need to do to make this work? Because it's not working right now. The tide seems to be changing. Hunter's got his power back and then some. And a lot of those guys over there are probably looking at that side of the fence going, well, I don't know, maybe it'd be new again. But crazy, crazy times.
Al's got a great question. Is it true that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega tried to super kick Punk's locker room door and the leg slapping is what alerted security? Great question.
Well, you got a good point. So maybe it was. Maybe the leg slapping kind of got their attention. So
hey, from what I've heard, they say Punk's not that tough. Obviously he got beat up twice badly in the UFC. Hey, 3-on-2, I know Ace Steel is crazy as hell, and obviously he's pretty tough, but 3-on-2 advantage, they won. So you got to give it to Punk there. He beat up the Young Bucks.
Well, yeah, beat up the Young Bucks.
Maybe it's not hard to do, but yeah.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't think so. I really wouldn't think it would be. But at the same time, these guys haven't walked where Punk or Ace Steel have walked. They may have been stars in California. They may have been stars in Ring of Honor. Great. Now they're stars in the promotion they helped create, and they drew some good houses. Great. But you can't rest on that. You got to keep proving yourself. And if it comes at, I don't know, it's not my style. It's not my thing. Never has been. But again, if you like, for instance, Orange Cassidy, or you like whoever you like the Young Bucks. Okay, great. Will that sustain? Is that sustainable? Can they keep doing that same style for the rest of their career? I don't know. Will that style fade away? Will it come back? I don't know. But in the meantime, you have Punk and you have some names and you have some guys who understand at least some kind of psychology. I know the Bucks have their psychology. 6 super kicks is better than 1, and all the stuff that leads up to everything, and then you beat him with the backslide. Okay, that's cool if that's what you want to see. But eventually, where do you go from there? I don't know, because you got to keep going higher and higher and higher and bigger, bigger, bigger. And then when you get to that point, what's it going to take? I don't know. I just think that I could see people getting aggravated with smartasses and disrespectful people in the back. You don't have to kiss ass. There's a difference. Being respectful and understanding what the business is, trying to elevate each other and trying to go out there and do that. I know that's a kind of a hard task to imagine, but I was just in the NWA for 5 days, and there was a locker room full of veterans and young guys starting out, and in between guys too. But you had ideas going around to help elevate other people and trying to do trying to make it work this way. So I saw evidence of veterans helping young guys and young guys listening. I don't know how it's going in AEW because you got a lot of minds in there. And Punk said this on the press conference. You have guys like Jerry Lynn. You have guys like Malenko. You have guys in the back who understand how to put stuff together and be entertaining at the same time. But does that mean bringing it down a notch? And instead of throwing 6 kicks, you throw 1 or 2, or you throw them at the right time and you put body language into it? Nobody understands it anymore, in my opinion. When you go out there and you're just doing moves, you're just doing stuff just for the sake of doing stuff, that's what it looks like, and that's what it's going to become. And after a while, it's kind of like, okay, it's 2 elephants.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it becomes. So I don't know. It's been interesting to see or hear and watch.
And I thought they would do something on TV tonight for it, but they didn't. It was basically Khan had his address, and he didn't mention Punk. He didn't mention Omega. He didn't mention the Bucks. He just said the titles are going to be vacated. So if you're like just a casual viewer or somebody watches once in a while, like a buddy of mine messaged me, he's like, I thought we were getting some big thing tonight. I said, I guess not. He didn't even mention any of their names and didn't even say, just said the titles are vacant.
Well, why should he bring attention to them if they're not going to be there? I mean, why not? I mean, I agree with that part because nothing is done even up to now makes sense. So why break the streak right now? I think that so they haven't announced anybody being fired. They just announced titles being vacated.
Everybody's suspension. So the Bucks are suspended. Omega is suspended. Michael Nakazawa suspended. Pat Buck is suspended. Brandon Cutler suspended. Christopher Daniels, the head of HR, well, really the head of TR, Talent Relations, he's suspended. And then, which is crazy, but but then also Punk and Steele, supposedly Steele is suspended, maybe fired, and then Punk supposedly might quit. So I doubt you could fire Punk making that kind of money and being the influence and being the $1 million gate guy that he's been for them. So
I wonder why we're not talking about any angles or any business, except that guys are going into business for themselves.
Right.
That seemed to be more interesting than anything they've done up to now. So
yep.
I just the more I'm around I don't know. I don't want to say independence, but at the same time, independence. Guys who've been wrestling for a long time, who've always had something else to do besides make full time out of wrestling. They don't seem to understand. It's not about the moves. If you can do cool stuff, that's cool, but do it at the right place at the right time. And that's kind of vague when you say that to them. They don't understand what gravitas a guy like Edge has, or someone who's been around for that long who can walk out and still be just as over because he was always over and he kept himself over by being fresh and new and authentic and not playing a part. So you've got to look at somebody. You can't look at the Young Bucks and see the Road Warriors. It doesn't fit.
Right.
They can't call themselves the Road Warriors. They can, but it's not authentic. So the Young Bucks are now in their late 20s or 30s?
In their 30s, mid-30s.
In their 30s, mid-30s. So now they're the Young Bucks, but they're not as young as they used to be. So are you now going to just be the Bucks? Are you going to keep doing your stuff? You're 35, you go on to be 40, and what? Don't get me wrong. It's been done. But can you continue doing that? And will people care? Especially when you come across doing some of the douchebaggery things that you're being accused of doing and being idiots backstage and acting like children or acting like idiots and not understanding Just not understanding, I guess, what anybody's trying to say. So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I don't I don't even know what to think anymore. I mean, I really don't. It's this the thing that's always got me, not just in the last 20 years, but ever, is when somebody had a problem, had an issue. It was either straightened out then or
Right.
shortly thereafter, and it didn't linger, and you got it out, you got it out, so you didn't embarrass yourself in front of the fans or do something in public. Pardon me, that would make the company or the rest of the boys look bad, and that doesn't seem to be happening anymore. Anytime anybody does anything, it's right out there. Somebody's got a phone or a camera and eyewitnesses and all that stuff. So nobody goes to help. Everybody pulls out their phone and films it.
Yeah.
Yeah, So that's the world we live in, and that's the world the Bucks live in. Punk, Ace Steel, and all the other people that got Kenny Omega. They it's all about them.
Please ask if anything ever comes good out of wrestlers getting heat with each other. Didn't work out too well for John Studd from Barbary. Your good old buddy Barbary.
If anything ever comes out of the wrestlers getting heat, if anything good,
With each other, yeah.
well,
Meaning Big
sometimes.
John Studd and Andre obviously had some heat.
Oh well, I think that was a personal deal anyway, because John was a really nice guy, but he would go around saying he's the only true giant in
Yeah.
professional wrestling, and being. There's always going to be a rivalry, and I think the good that comes out of it is sometimes like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, who had legit heat with each other, who felt it, and were legitimate rivals backstage as well as in the ring. But the difference was Bret and Shawn were pros and understood when they got in front of the fans, they were going to outwork each other, going to show each other how they can work and prove to the other guy his timing and his stuff was on the mark and looked great. So instead of trying to, they would say stuff too on live TV, live Raw, things like that. But when they got into their altercation, that was it. It wasn't I don't know. It was, they took care of it. They worked with each other through the years. They earned each other's respect. I'm sure there'll always be that lingering whatever it is, but I think that's the good that probably came out of the Bret Hart Shawn Michaels rivalry. Is they wound up respecting each other. They wound up saying, "Hey, it was what it was, and now we're here. We can't live in the past or the future. We just got it right now." So I think they both look at it.
There's rumors of William Regal asking for his release. Shocked, but not shocked. There's a bunch of guys. Malachi Black just asked for his release. He was released. Bobby Fish, I think his contract ran out, but he was looking to get out of it anyway. I mean, there's rumors of Andrade unhappy. Miro's a rumor. I recently heard Bryan Danielson may want to be moving on out. So crazy what's going on over there.
Well, once again, Triple H is an old school guy. Triple H understands wrestling. He really does. And he's got himself surrounded with people who understand wrestling, just as Vince did. But Hunter has that innate ability. He understands and has the instincts pretty much, I feel, and knows who can work and who can't. So Regal and he were very close. So why wouldn't Hunter want to have someone like a William Regal around and whatever it takes? But as Punk said, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. It's where you water it, and that makes sense. At the same time, you need fertile land, I think, and you need to feed it and not just water. You need more than that, and so you have somebody in AEW, you're making a lot of money and you can work with some people, but is it worth the drought? Is it worth trying to water and unfertilized grass? You need more than just here you go, here's a platform. You need somebody to say, okay, here's your platform, but here's your guidelines, and here's what we can do. And if you say it again, you're going to be fined. Or let's stay away from the cuss words. Let's stay away from the shits, because everybody's saying shit on TV. I heard about that the other day. Everybody's using it, so now it's becoming commonplace, and more people hearing it. Eventually, you get tired and say, "Whoa, too many." So less is more. Tone down the kicks. Tone down the high spots. Instead of doing a tombstone pile driver and then going to the top rope and jumping off on an elbow, don't either do the pile driver and pin, make it the finish, or have him save or something, or don't. But don't pile drive him, leave him there, and then run up, do something else to him, and then doing something else to him. You've done three things. When that one pile driver, you should have covered him. Nobody gets that because everybody wants to go bam, 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 bam. That's the style. But think if you had guys who understood how to tell a Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage story. We watched that match the other night, and if you watch it and break it down into simplistic terms, small package, backslide, schoolboy, basic sunset flip, basic of basic finishes. The finish of the match was a small package. Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat, WrestleMania 3. The reason it was over, it's the body language, and both Savage and Steamboat got over. But how did they get over? They got over by their body language, by everything they did, every word they said. Savage was intense. Steamboat was that classic baby face back then, and he would tell that story. He told kind of one of those good guy promos prior to the match on WrestleMania 3. But it was the body language, the tone, and then everything they did in the ring. Nothing was wasted. But break it down. The only stuff they did that might not have been basic was go to the top rope, and that was Savage's deal. And I think Steamboat went maybe once. Everything else, look at it. They work on armbar, the hold. It's how you do what you do. I'm not saying you can do a 1970s match in 2022, 23. What I'm saying is learn how to tell a story. It'll be a lot more fun, I think, and people will get into it if you have people who understand how to do it. So.
Man, that was a great match, but I don't know about any of these guys today being able to be Macho Man or Steamboat. But hey, it is.
No, I don't either. Either. But if you study these guys,
absolutely, should be.
Watch the little things they do. Keep their head up. They sell. They register, and it's the little things they do in between, and nobody knows it because there are no Steamboat Savage matches to look at except that one or a couple in the back prior to it. Nobody wants to go back because that's way too far back. It's today. What's new, what's old is new again. If you make it your own, if you go out and you see some really cool stuff and you know how to just add something to it. Mick Foley got his mandible claw from Dr. Sam Shepard. He actually got it from Jim Cornette, who knew Dr. Sam Shepard used it. And he wasn't in the business that long. A lot of these guys don't want to take the time to go back, study the history of the business. Not because it's something to study, but at the same time, you might find out something that you could use, whether it's a story about getting your foot hurt and you had to wear the orthopedic shoe and you tapped your toe and you loaded the boot. Maybe you could do it today. Maybe it couldn't happen. But when you try to go too extravagant or too elaborate, it kind of gets lost in the translation usually. And if you keep a simple story going and know how to tell it, it can be compelling. The simple story last night with Edge and or Monday night, whenever it was, Edge and Rey Mysterio and Dominic. It's my son. He's my son. Well, I'm going to beat his ass. No, please. Okay, simple story. But why do the people get into it? It's because of the people doing it, the people speaking from their heart. They're not remembering lines. Although I'm sure they are remembering lines, but they're not reciting it like they're remembering lines. And that's the difference. It's the body language. I can give the same actor, the same person, the same script, and they'll interpret it differently, no doubt. But that's up to finding out what works for you, I guess.
Yep, for sure. Let's get some random questions for you. How about this one out of nowhere? What year did you leave the Portland territory? And then where did you end up? I'm guessing it had to be early 80s.
Mid 80s, I think,
Okay.
84, 85. And I came back to Louisiana. I came home for Christmas and I went to the Coliseum and saw Bill Dundee and Jim Cornette and Rock and Roll were about getting ready to finish up their deal. So when I went back to Portland, I had mentioned to Bill if there's anything that comes up, I'd love to come back home and work Louisiana. So I worked Louisiana for a little bit, and then after that, I went to Memphis with Pat Rose from Louisiana.
Question. I like that one. Different, for sure. Here's another one from Grandma Daisy. Dr. Tom, did you ever meet the Giant Gonzalez? If so, what was he like?
I don't. No, I don't believe I
SummerSlam
ever.
'93, no?
Was it?
Wouldn't, yeah.
Was he there?
If Undertaker fought him, you guys fought the Steiner brothers.
I might have met him. I might have said hello, but I wasn't around a whole lot to even know what he was like. But I'm sure he said hello if he was there.
Interesting. That's the guy you got to remember, you know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't really think SummerSlam. We were coming in, and most of the guys we knew, some of the guys we didn't, we just say hello to and keep moving.
Yes.
But I you know what I mean? I didn't really get to know him, but I might have said hello a couple times to him. I just didn't. I couldn't tell you what he was like. He's nice and he said hello. He was a very pleasant person. We said hello. I mean, other than that.
What former wrestler do you think became the best actor as far as acting talent? Personally, I'm torn between Roddy Piper and John Cena.
Wow.
Womp Biscuits, good one.
Yeah, I think you have to certainly throw Rock in there. He's I like Cena's acting. I really do. I've seen him on the what's the Netflix show he did where he dresses up as the
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. Yes. Yeah, he's good and stuff like that. And I think Piper did a hell of a job. So I can't pick just one. Of course, Rock has proved time and time again that people like what he does.
I like Dave Bautista. I think he's been in some great movies, and I think he's a great actor, actually.
I will say that. I agree 100%. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought he was very entertaining in that. I haven't seen him in anything else, but I did like him in Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah.
A bunch of smaller roles, like in the new Blade Runner and one of the James Bond movies. Very good actor.
Yeah, good for him. Good for all those guys. Cena, Rock, a lot of guys.
Please put over Brad Thomas as Mike.
Brad Thomas is awesome. He is tremendous. He really is. Good guy all around. Great worker. I can't say enough good things about Brad Thomas. He really is a good guy.
Worst gimmick in wrestling from Rain. His is the Red Rooster. What's yours? Worst gimmick in wrestling?
Zip.
I was going to say, there's got to be
Thank
Zip.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the worst gimmick. There's a guy in NWA, Sal, who I think the world of. He's a great guy, but he kept, every time I've seen him, he claims he loves the Body Donnas. So I tell him to go to hell. But
right.
Good guy. But man, that was the worst gimmick. It really, really was.
All right, fair enough. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Tom, I got to watch, but I want to check it out as far as Bruiser Brody. Did you ever get to work with Bruiser Brody?
I never worked against Brody. I was in the same territory. I was in San Antonio with Brody. And he was always nice. He was always cool. I think you give him respect, you'll get respect, and just don't be an idiot in the locker room, because he was one of those guys. And I've had a friend of mine tell me a story. He was late for the bus in Japan. My friend was, and Brody was hot. And as he came on the bus, Brody asked him, "Are you here to make money or get pussy?" And he was being a smartass, says, "Get pussy." So he said Frank slapped him upside the head. Went to the front of the bus. He said he came back, 2 beers. He says, "All right, here, we're going to drink a beer together, then we're done." Drank a beer, done. Don't want to see you the rest of the tour. Don't talk to me. Don't say anything. Okay. So, but that was the deal. In Japan, they were there to make money. And in Japan, if you say you're leaving on the bus at 7 a.m., that means you're outside getting ready at 6:30. It's 30 minutes ahead of time. You're early in Japan. That's Japanese time. So again, my friend had been up all night, and so that was Brody. But I always got along with him because I never tried him, never tested him, wasn't a smart ass.
Speaking of Brody, Rain throws in a question. What was Undertaker's first match? His debut was at CWA. No, I believe it was in Texas for World Class, and I think Brody kicked his ass.
Yeah. Well, he was Texas Red, but again, everybody starts out green. Nobody starts out perfect, but you could see that Taker had potential. So Frank was just being Frank. He was going out doing what he would do against a green guy who didn't know how to do anything. So he's going to kick him hard or lay into him. So he had no choice but to sell it, because it would look like shit if Brody didn't lay it in. So you have to understand that when you're working with a guy like that, that's the match you're going to be in. It's like the Moondogs in Memphis. When you went to the ring with these guys, they were hardcore before they called it hardcore. And I got to work with them for like a couple months, and it was one of those things where they're hitting you full force with the chair on the head, in the back, stuff like that. And that's what Brody did. That was his gimmick, and you knew that was the kind of match you're going to have going out there.
Did Dr. Tom ever meet Gene Anderson from Phil?
Yes.
Thoughts on him?
Yes. Joe Lightfoot and I were sent from Atlanta to do TV one time outside of Charlotte. It was a TV station way out in the middle of nowhere. Well, we had shots along the way, and I worked with Joe, and I teamed against Gene Anderson. I don't think it was Ole, and I don't remember who his partner was, but I remember it was Gene, because he kept feeding for a slam. He'd say, "Slam." Boom. His partner would feed him, "Slam." Gene would get up, and I would slam him. Well, they were blowing me up, and I knew it. But finally, as he fed for a slam, I nailed him, and it went down. But that was the only interaction I had with him. Somewhere in the Carolinas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Dr. X match versus The Rock from John?
I do remember that. It was one of those things that I think we were trying so hard, but it was good. I had a good time.
What was your favorite territory from Barbara?
I've got a couple of them, really, and everywhere I've ever been, I've always had fun. I've always had a good time. But Pensacola, definitely, Continental Alabama area, and Oregon was a lot of fun. And everywhere else that I've really ever been, Atlanta was okay. Atlanta was fun for a while. California was again. I'm 20 years old, and I'm living in Los Angeles, and had no responsibilities whatsoever. But I liked everywhere I went.
When did you first decide to start JP at WA?
Almost 4 years ago. Um, we just decided that Glenn was here, I'm here, and every time somebody would ask Glenn where would be a good place to train, he'd always send them to Lance Storm or somewhere like that. He said, "Well, why don't we do the open school here?" And we did. So about 4 years ago, this December, I guess, or January will be 4 years. We'll be starting our fifth year in 2023.
Ibsen, what's needed for a Legends contract that you know of, even though maybe you don't have one, but just as an appearance, as promoting? Do you know anything about the Legends contracts?
I had a I think it was a Legends contract, and it goes for 5 years, and you get paid a certain sum. They will send you for the cards, the plastic thing that you sign some of those.
Mm-hmm.
They pay you per card, and I think each contract is basically the same with some added in because that was all mine was. You got a bonus up front, and then they send you stuff to sign and do like that. But I think it went for 5 years.
Like, did it pay okay?
Yeah, I mean you're not going to live off it, but well, let me say I wasn't going to live off it. I didn't have a lot of gimmicks, but they were kind enough to do that, and you get a bonus, you get a front bonus, and whatever else you make, they split and they send you on the a royalty
Yep.
Gimmick.
Have you seen where the wrestler Easy Money is training wrestlers nowadays? I had no idea he was training wrestlers.
I had no idea. No, I don't know that. I did not
If
know that.
if Jeff knows, let us know. I'd love to know that. I'd love to track down Easy Money for sure.
Sure.
RB wants to know who's your favorite wrestler to tag with? Stan Lane, Jimmy Del Rey, Candido, or someone else, perhaps?
Um, I once again, I think Candido especially was a lot of fun to team with because he was still loving what he was doing, and I didn't have to even think about anything either. He just would. It was that chemistry, and same thing with Jimmy and Stan, though. I mean, so I can't pick one favorite guy and say this was a guy that I really enjoyed more. So I had fun with all three.
It's kind of funny. Some of the wrestlers are baby faces who are completely, you know what, in real life, and there are heels that are really sweet people in real life. Do you agree with that? That the heels are really the good guys, and the good guys are really the bad guys?
Well, I've always said that. I think that's life. I think somebody's always putting on a mask, and we always have these facades on. Um, so I think that's with everyday people too, and that's the deal. That's why I believe you should be who you are and be authentic in wrestling because you have the opportunity to turn it up. And at the same time, that's why I think the heels get have such fun. It's always more fun to be bad than good, wouldn't you think? I mean, a lot of people want to taste forbidden fruit. A lot of people want to do some things you're not allowed to do, and not everybody can. But in professional wrestling, the bad guy can. He can do these evil things and all that stuff. So anyway, that's what I think. I thought
I
it was
agree.
great. Yeah.
Whatever happened to the jacket that you wore for the Heavenly Bodies? Do you still have it?
I have, I believe I have one of them.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's
I
probably worth
also,
something.
well, I gave a lot to Dave Chuddy, who was a good
No,
friend of Paul Bearer's too.
damn
So
it.
I'm not sure exactly what I have left in there anymore.
Chris Benoit. Wow, what the hell? He's got a question. What typically goes on before your match? Like the whole day? Is it planning? Like what time do you get there? What's the planning like as far as the day of a match?
Well, All Talent was supposed to be there at 1 o'clock. My days this time right now at this present. I'll tell you what I'm doing, but it's not before a match. But these days, I went 5 days for the NWA.
Oh, right, for the
Okay,
74,
so
and then the tapings after. Yep.
74 in St. Louis, Saturday and Sunday. The meetings were at 10. Um, and then they went until about 11. The shows went until about 10:30 or 11, I guess, I think, in St. Louis. And it was at the Chase. So you had a 12-hour day there, a 13, 14-hour day. And that consisted of the production meeting, the agent meeting, then trying to find everybody and getting together. So we did that. And then 3 days in Nashville, meetings were at 10:30 and go till about 11, 11:30, same thing. So they were long 5 days, and I hadn't done those in a while. But it was really it was a cool thing to do because I understand how the days fall, how the hours fall into place, and how much time you have to get with everybody and the pre-tapes and everything that needs to be done. So that's pretty much going on now. For talent, if you get there, the talent was there shortly after we got there at 10 o'clock in the morning. So they're there all day. And they get lunch and they get something at dinner, and they're going over their match or working on something. And so for people who aren't doing something, for talent who's sitting around waiting for somebody to find them, you got to find a way to keep yourself busy. You got to find a way to work out. Some guys train, some guys, hang out, talk. But there's no problem filling up your day if you stay busy. You know how to stay busy.
It seems like back then you're not going to be discussing, like when you were wrestling, you're not going to be laying out the whole match like they do nowadays in the back where, they got to memorize everything. You know what I mean?
Well, once again, that was a different time, a different place, and that model just doesn't exist anymore because the way I learned was having veterans call it in the ring and listening to the guys who had more experience than me. These days, it really is people with the same experience level working with each other, and I think that's okay. That's okay, but you're not getting the same thing. It's not the same model. It's just not the same. And that's why we didn't have to call it in the back, because it was a feeling thing. And I think if it goes back, it should still be a feeling thing. Otherwise, I go back to saying you're just doing moves, and there's no emotion to it. There's no body language to it. It's you see a pretty move, and that's it. So I don't know if that would make a difference, but I have a feeling it sure make it different. And some people would get into it. You just don't have that. You don't have that available. You don't have the experience. The guys who do know are aged out, old, crumpled up. I mean, you don't get that opportunity. So I don't know. We didn't talk about the match. We did if we had something that would come up where we needed to work on. But these days, the talent does need to be there early enough to where even if they want to have ring time. I noticed this these last 5 days too. The ring was always set up. Somebody wanted to go in and try something or do something or have an opportunity to do it, they could. And I'm glad that's available for them because it's like stand-up comedy. You can try stuff in an empty room. You can do some real cool stuff, but you don't know how it's going to work in front of a crowd until you do it. And there's no substitute for that.
Very, very true. I agree. Barbara wants to know if wrestlers come to the ring intoxicated, what do you do in that situation?
Well, you can leave if you like, or you can handle it the way you need to handle it.
Does that happen often? Or did it happen often?
I don't know. I'm not in the ring anymore.
No, I mean, did it happen often when you were
wrestling? I don't know that it happened often, but it happened. Again, different place, different time, different world.
I remember Jeff Hardy's Sting. Remember, Sting had to quickly pin him in
Yes,
pin him 30 seconds, whatever it was. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. You can walk out or you can handle it. And that means if he's not safe and you don't feel safe, if you don't walk out, then pin him real quick. Get it over with or throw him out. Get away. I don't know how else to do it or what else to do in that case.
Did you ever wrestle in the AWA territory, Dr. Tom, for Mitch?
No, I never did. Never had the opportunity. I heard it was always cold up there too. But I just never had the opportunity to do it.
Does Corny, aka, does he not want to be in a top promotion that you know of? What does he tell you? Because he could be a big help to the business backstage. Enormously
Yeah,
big help.
I think Jim is okay staying at home. I really do. I think he's doing just fine. He could certainly help only if people listen. I mean, if you're not willing to learn, nobody can help you. If you're determined to learn, nothing can stop you. But you've got to be wanting to learn. And you got to be wanting that knowledge because Jim's not going to sit around with these idiots. He won't do it, and I don't think he has to do it. So, no, I don't think he wants to be in a top promotion at all right now. I think he's very happy at home.
Matty R. Does Dr. Tom have any predictions for the NFL this season?
No, I really don't. I pay no attention to the NFL. My wife is an Alabama fan, so we watch college games, and that's it.
Did Alabama win week 1? I'm guessing yes.
Well, if you ask her, of course they can win. Why couldn't they? Nick Saban is a genius.
They are the odds-on favorite. I saw big time odds-on favorite to win it. Yeah,
aren't they always? Jimmy Golden would ride his bike around town, and he had his Alabama flags flying high. And 3 times the people, here in the great city of Knoxville, have stolen the flag with the A on it, the Alabama flags.
Wow.
That's how intense they feel about Alabama here. My wife doesn't care. She'll wear her Alabama shirt around town. She doesn't care.
For the NFL, the Buffalo Bills are the odds-on favorites to win it all. That's what everybody's predicting. And then obviously if you go to your sports books, the Bills are easily the odds-on favorite. The Bucks were up there too, despite all the injuries, obviously with Tom Brady. But the Bucks were up there too. But the Bills were picked to win it all. I'm not surprised, but a little bit surprised.
Well, I don't have a clue. So
there's something you do have a clue about. Beau James, Mikey wants to know: have you have any good Beau James stories? He always pops on here. I wonder if he's going to pop in today. But he always.
I don't know. Beau James is lurking around somebody's corner tonight. I can tell you right now. Well, I do have some Beau James stories. I just don't know that they're for public consumption. But yeah, no, that would be incriminating too. I will say this: there was a night where Beau rode with me to Birmingham, and on the way back, we found a pair of underwear that had been soiled, and Beau thought it'd be funny to put it in somebody else's bag and see what happened. And I thought, now hold on a minute. But we did, or no, he did. I had no part of this. He put it in there. The guy goes and just takes them and didn't pay any attention, was wearing them. And we're like, oh my God. So that's a Beau James story. It wasn't me.
It was all Beau. All right.
Yeah. All right.
Who is the Bill Russell of pro wrestling for African American wrestlers? Ernie Ladd, Bobo Brazil. Interesting question there.
Well, I know Ernie better than I know Bobo, and I don't think people who weren't around understand what a big star both of those guys were. Bobo more so in Detroit, and when we came to California, he won their world title, the WWA world title, and that was that belt you always saw in wrestling magazines that he was wearing. So, and he was huge in Detroit for the Sheik. So, but Ernie, everywhere he went, he had presence wherever he appeared.
Did you work Ernie Ladd in Mid South?
I was there when he was there. Yes.
Oh, you didn't wrestle him?
No, I never wrestled him. No. But to say this, Ernie put over Brad Armstrong for the North American Championship, and that says a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Bobo Brazil, so big, 6'5", whatever. I mean, he's such a big guy. The Sheik was like 5'7". It's so interesting. The heel is the little guy. It's like this Kevin Sullivan, Blackjack Mulligan, or Kevin Sullivan like Dusty Fuse. Like the little guy is the heel, and the big guy is the baby face.
Well, once again, this is what I'm trying to make a point, and I don't always make it. But guys like Bryan Danielson, who never was supposed to get over, ever,
Right?
never, is not that big. So it's not necessarily the size, and he's tremendous in the ring. But what is it? But what is it that made him special? What is it? That's what I mean. You've got to find that, whatever that is.
Dynamite Kid like, too, not a big guy.
Who?
At all. Dynamite Kid, not a big guy.
Dynamite. Well, no, but he looked. There we go. He looked special. He was that guy. Daniel Bryan wasn't a huge workout guy. He was in shape. But what was it? 70,000 people chanting, yes, 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 yes. That's what you need to look at. That's what you need to find. There's that certain connection. There's that certain charisma. There's that certain something. And people are wondering, what is it? How do you find it? Hulk Hogan? Okay. Randy Savage? Okay. Daniel Bryan? What? That was the attitude. But organically, the people, the fans, are the ones who actually turned the tide. And it was a connection that. How do you fire somebody for doing what they tell you to do? Go out and destroy ringside. Go out and just complete chaos. And he did that and created chaos. So you couldn't get rid of him that way. So come back and watch him work his magic, and you're forced into acknowledging that there's something more here than just an average guy. So,
gotcha. Very true. Chloe, loving this Q&A, Dr. Tom. Please describe what went on in a WWF production, like the backstage, getting ready for the show. Love the channel. Love Dr. Tom.
Well, it's getting everybody together, depending on what you have to do for a pre-tape, or just getting everybody together to let them know what they're going to do during the show, and giving them the outline and letting them fill in the blanks is the way it used to be done. And I haven't been in a WWE production meeting in a long time. But the production meetings I just came out of were just explaining what the day held and how it's supposed to be done and what was wanted to be done. So then it's up to the agents or producers to go and find their guys and see what they have on their mind and see if you can make something work. The great thing about I think these days, and having young guys in AEW and WWE and NXT and stuff like that, is they're going to find the right mix eventually, and there's already a buzz going on because of all the chaos. So everybody's going to want to see what everybody's doing, but eventually, I think with all the young talent coming in, they're going to find their style. They're going to find their niche, and they're going to get get something going where it's bound to get hot again. I don't know what that is, but at one time it was the ladders, tables, and chairs, the Hardy Boys matches, Dudleys, and stuff like that. Edge and Christian. What are they going to be buzzing about? For the next few years to come.
Yep. From Megamouth, did you enjoy working with the Harris twins?
Yes, I did. Those were fun guys to be around, and they were big and bad, and anything, everything you saw about those guys was real. But they were a lot of fun. They if they wanted to have their way with you, they could, and I'm just glad they did. So,
I believe it. What's the biggest pop you've ever heard in your career?
Oh hell, that was. You know what? Being serious now, WrestleMania 20. I remember watching Taker and Kane. I watched the entrance for Taker coming back. That was the hell of a pop. That stood out to me.
I was in MSG in 2005, I believe. Hulk Hogan made his return, a surprise return, to save Shawn Michaels from Muhammad Hassan and Daivari. I almost think it doesn't come off as loud on TV. It was literally deafening because I was there with my friend, and my friend's uncle was there. He literally, older guy, but I mean, not that old.
Right.
He goes, I can't hear. It was deafening. I mean, Hogan and MSG was special. It's just like, wow. Crazy.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how, if you were at WrestleMania 20, that's how it was when
those fans are great. Yeah,
the Taker, Kane was in the ring first, and then the smoke and all the stuff came up. It's like those are the moments that not just anybody can step into. Those are the roles. You just can't exchange roles. That it was made for one guy, one person, and that's why they're so special.
Look at this. Please let us know where we can get a copy of Dr. Tom's wrestling book, a must-have for any up-and-coming wrestler who wants to be in the main event, or for trainers, because I know somebody up here in New Jersey, Brian Myers, Pat Buck, uses this book. So
yeah, they do, and you can get the very same book at jpwrestlingacademy.com. Now, all it really is, John, is suggestions and ideas and a way to put something together so you can mix and match. So we don't go directly by the book either. These are just laid out, but pretty good suggestions and drills. That's jpwrestlingacademy.com. Click on the training page. In fact, if you want to find out about our next session that starts January 2023, well, actually, the next one starts October. Then after that, it's January 23rd. 2023. This is our last session before the end of the year. Also at jpwrestlingacademy.com.
Ibsen want to know if you can get the book through Amazon.
Yes, you certainly can.
And of course, that is a pro wrestling curriculum, advice, suggestions, and stories to help the aspiring pro get to the next level. The long but great title there. But of course, you can follow Dr. Tom on Twitter at Dr. Tom Prichard. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Two Man Power Trip. Check out the website tmptempire.com. Also go to Pro Wrestling Tees, prowrestlingtees.com, and get a JPWA shirt or a Dr. Tom shirt. I love the Wanted Dead or Alive Dr. Tom tee. And of course, go to legacysubs.com. Use that promo code Dr. Tom for 10% off your entire order. That's legacysubs.com. Good stuff from them as well, Dr. Tom.
Awesome. Thanks to Nick and everybody over there for doing that. That's a cool thing, man.
Great stuff. As always, thank you, everybody, for all the great questions. And thank you, Dr. Tom. We'll see everybody right back here next week. See you next week, folks.